Hey guys, how the hell are you? It is now February 12th, 2021. We're starting to get a good swing of things going here as far as the new releases that are coming out. It is New Release Friday, so there is tons of new stuff that is coming out today. And I wanted to share with you guys something. So, if you are a Spotify listener, if you actually have an account with Spotify, I'm not sponsored by the way at all. But please go to my playlist that I'm going to be posting a link to down here. And I've also got up here on my Spotify, it is Arnold Plays Guitar's New Release Radar. The title may change at some point, but I am posting a Spotify playlist every single week now. What I'm going to do is every single Friday, completely deleting the list, completely updating it with all new stuff that is coming out that New Release Friday, so that way you guys can always get a constantly updated list of the various new releases that are coming out. Stuff that I find interesting. So if ever you're like, hey, how come you're not including this? How come you're not including that? It's because, honestly, it didn't seem like something I would probably enjoy, so I'm not giving a shit. But if it's stuff like thrash metal, heavy metal, classic metal, power metal, if it's stuff like death metal, blackened metal, more than likely I'm going to post it onto that playlist. Some other stuff here or there too, like for instance, this last week, John Carpenter put out a new synthwave project, so I posted that on the playlist as well. It's just stuff that I think might be kind of interesting. So you guys can follow the playlist. You guys can check out what I might be checking out and what might be a contender for the Album of the Week video that's coming. And now with that, let's get into the Album of the Week from this last week. So there was a ton of killer stuff, a ton of underground as fuck killer stuff that came out this week. There was surprisingly not too many big name releases. Corpiclani came out with a new record, which was okay, but in my opinion didn't really stack up with some of the older stuff, and same goes for Angelus Apatrida. I love that band so much, and this release just kind of didn't really tick all the boxes for me like their other releases have. No matter. You know, I'm sure that by the next release that they come out with, it'll be absolutely killer, and maybe I'll even come back and rediscover this for what it was, but the mood I've been in this last week, what I was listening to, this just didn't do it for me, so I apologize. There was a lot of interesting releases from several bands that I had literally never heard of that came out this week. Blur Thrower, which seemed to be kind of a black gaze band, came out, and that was actually pretty good. That was better than pretty good, to be honest with you. I'm kind of underselling it. Let's see, Udandi. I'm probably pronouncing that name so horribly, but dudes, that was actually a really, really killer atmospheric black and metal record. I loved it. But when it came down to it, there was one release in particular that I was just listening to a hell of a lot more this week than literally anything else. And that is the new debut EP by Black Hole Deity. Now, Black Hole Deity is kind of a project that's been put together of members from various other bands. A few bands that I really, really like. You know, there's a couple members from Chaos Inception. There's, the singer has played with Bloodstained Dusk, which, by the way, did you know that Bloodstained Dusk came out with a new single last year? Fuck, neither did I. That's rad. But probably the most prominent name that is associated with this act is the drummer, one Mike Heller, he of Fear Factory, System Divide, Azure Emote, and Raven? Raven. And Raven fame. News to me. But this guy, he's an absolutely badass drummer. I've seen him perform with many different acts. He is absolutely killer, and his talents are on full display in this recording. as is the guitar playing. Oh my god, some serious riffage on display here. Definitely one of those death metal bands that, although they're trying to come up with a formula and they're trying to kind of stick to it a little bit, the gift of riff is strong with them, and I feel like they can't deny it. There's definitely some moments on here where it definitely evokes some absolutely killer influences, but that isn't at all to take away with what this is all coming together to create with this group. So, Black Hole Deity, I kind of feel like there's a little bit of an identity crisis going on, but it's honestly helping to make it an engaging listen. This is a 5-track, 4-song EP. Right from the word go, you get a lot of Deeds of Flesh, Vader, Immolation kind of vibes, kind of all coming together. It's really, really cool. Some great thrashy parts, some really brutal, almost tech deathy parts. It's not quite tech death at all. It's not super noodly. If anything, the most noodly thing that's on here are the guitar solos, which are very tech death. But mostly everything else is really, really, really kind of traditional, kind of brutal, sinister, borderline evil death metal stuff. One thing that I think sticks out though, and this is my favorite song on the record, but it's probably the song that sounds so dramatically different from all the others. Multiverse Incantations, if anything, is extremely Gojira-esque and extremely Feared-esque. Yes, this song does sound like something that Ola would do, and immediately that kind of caught my attention. Like, not even just like the riffage, but even the guitar tone a little bit, how it's got that kind of chunky, kind of halfway point between a dual rec and a 5150-ish kind of tone. It's totally killer. I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's probably the most riff-heavy song on the whole release. Go check it out for yourself. The title track, Lair of Xenolich, I'm probably mispronouncing that so bad, is also really, really killer. Definitely still evoking those same kind of spacey, brutal, sinister death metal vibes to it. Definitely a lot of blasting parts, a little bit of carpet rolls and thrashiness going on. It's all coming together nicely. This is just a straight up fucking rock solid record. It's an engaging listen. Not really anything sounds too closely related to anything else on the record. If anything, probably the most closely related songs are the title track, which closes it out, and the opener, Raised Earth Edict, which, you know, they're spread out with a few songs in between them, but those two tunes are probably the most closely related in terms of overall delivery, in terms of overall tone and sound. So probably, if I had to make a guess on the future of this band going forward, I would probably guess that the overall delivery, the overall sound that this band exhibits is going to kind of push towards those two songs a little bit, just because tunes like the aforementioned Multiverse Incantations and Railgun Combat are a little bit dramatically different than those two. But engaging listen, killer death metal record, awesome mix job. So if you're definitely one of those people that likes their death metal super clean and crisp, but yet still brutal and heavy, this is definitely something that you would want to check out. The tones on this record are fantastic. Everything kind of fits nice and neat in the mix, and it's overall just a really, really satisfying and engaging listen. So thank you guys so much for tuning into this album of the week. This was probably the first really, really killer EP that I've heard this year. Definitely not going to be the last. There was even another EP in this week that I was almost considering from Mysotheist. Really, really killer blackened metal release that came out, but when all was said and done, I just couldn't stop listening to Black Hole Deity. It kept drawing me in and kept having me re-listen to it several times through the course of the week. So Hope you guys dig it just as much as I did. Remember to follow the Spotify playlist if you have a Spotify account. I do completely delete that playlist and completely re-add a whole bunch of new stuff every single week now going forward, so that you guys can see what I am checking out, and hopefully you guys can check out a bunch of crazy new stuff on there too and have your minds blown as much as my mind gets blown when listening to that. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to like this video, subscribe to this channel. There's tons more metal, guitar-oriented content to come. And remember, please, take what you do seriously, but do not take yourself too seriously.